So about scoring checklist. I often use scoring checklist in my teaching methods courses when my students are ready to really dig into a new topic, a new inquiry for them, a question they're trying to answer, or a new problem-based learning when they're trying to solve a problem in their practice. And I like using scoring checklists at that point because they're doing new work, they're trying to figure something out, but they often don't know exactly what they're doing. So in my mind, a scoring rubric isn't appropriate at that time because a scoring rubric for me determines levels of quality in the final product. When I'm writing a scoring rubric, I'm trying to communicate to students, well, work can be at this level, or it can be at this level, or it can be at this level. I'm trying to define quality. A scoring checklist to me doesn't define quality, it talks about quantity, how much work was done, and it may not talk about really nailing down the quality of that work that was done. Well, I think at the stage that I described of when teachers are solving something new, quantity is a good thing to think about. So here are some things that I ask my method students to consider as they consider writing their scoring checklist for the work they're doing. And oh yeah, they write the scoring checklist. I don't. They're teachers themselves, and I let them write the scoring checklist. So I ask them to think about the quantity of the work they're going to do before they do it. And then we negotiate it to come to an agreement. So things like, often teachers want to write a lesson plan. So how many? 5 lesson plans in the project, 2 lesson plans, and also this is a complete lesson plan. So it's not very detailed, you can tell. Well, was that the work that the teachers want to do? That's fine. 5 lesson sketches like that one? Or do they want to do 2 in-depth, ready-to-implement lessons with all of the resources ready? Either one's fine. Just tell me the quantity you want to do. Well, here's another thing. Sometimes I see teachers who want to read. So they want to read a journal article. This is from the science teacher, and they just want to read. So how many? How many journal articles? And how long? Or it's going to be like these are 3 or 4 pages in the science teacher, or do they want to read from more of a research article, something 15 to 20 pages? Doesn't matter to me as long as they communicate in advance the quantity of reading that they would do. And that also goes for a book. Do they want to read a whole book? Fine, tell me that. That's quantity. Or do they want to read selected chapters from selected books? Doesn't matter. Just communicate the quantity in advance. So one that I don't have an example for is interviewing teachers, but that's pretty straightforward. How would you quantify interviews with teachers? 2 one-hour interviews, 4 15-minute interviews, kind of drive-bys. Quantify it in advance so I know when we can come to agreement on the quantity of work done. Here's one more. This is actually a web-based resource. So I just printed it off as an example for this video. But many times teachers are doing web searches to try and find out answers. So what's the quantity of that? Well, one way to quantify it is that they want to find 7 high-quality resources for answering their question or solving their problem. That's quantity. Now, a side note. Sometimes teachers my students don't know what they're looking for. And so at that point in the checklist, they actually go into time documentation mode and say, I'm not sure if what I'm looking for is even out there, but I will document 10 hours looking. And at the end of those 10 hours, I'll report what I find. That's okay with me because in that sense, quantity may not match the actual work being done. Hope those examples help as far as a scoring checklist and how to develop them. You'll also see accompanying this post a link to a Google document that I often suggest to teachers in my classes to use that Google document as a way, the table in there, as a way to communicate their proposal. And the table is just nice because it talks about the work that they're going to do, where they define it, and then on the table they actually include the quantity of work done, and then very importantly, the evidence at the end of when they submit the project that they've actually done the work and the quantity that they've targeted. And that evidence they have to determine in advance. Like, for example, with the reading, how are they going to prove that they read the 3 articles? Turn in scanned, highlighted copies, blog post them, blog post summaries. And now that I've mentioned blog post, I found that is a great way to report research when teachers are doing this kind of work. Picture reading a blog, and the results, much of the results of a teacher's work is a series of blog posts where they report great resources that they found, the results of an interview with the teacher, a lesson plan that they created and what they like about it. A series of blog posts is a great way to get your message out about the work you're doing, invite others to make comments on it, and to report what you're doing. I was looking at my notes, and I think that's about everything. So hopefully that helps. Scoring checklist. Hopefully that makes sense.